Hi everybody, I am really excited to show you this project today. It's my proudest achievement resin wise. It couldn't have gone better if I had tried. So the project is I am going to make a autumn or fall scenery in my coffee cup shaker coasters. I'm going to make those trees that you can see there. So I'm not going to make the heart shapes. I'm just going to make 4 of the actual trees and then peel them out of the mold to put into my coffee cup molds. I just do one on camera and the rest off camera. I actually do all 3 of those, but the bottom one is not very detailed, so I actually scrap that one and make 2 each of the top 2. So these will be trees with no leaves on them. Now this was a 2.5-hour video originally, so I have doubled the speed, so even while I'm talking you through, it's at 2 times speed. For the rest of this tree I will make it 4 times speed for you. Okay, so you can see here what I meant about the bottom tree not being very detailed. Okay, so I've demolded them, and as I said earlier in the video, I've scrapped the bottom one and then made 2 more of the top ones. I needed 4 anyway. And there I briefly showed you the mica powders and the UV resin that I'm using, which will be linked in the description. Okay, back to 4 times speed while I show you me make some leaves. I am deliberately doing leaves that are not touching each other because I want separate leaves for a reason that will become clear later. Off camera, I have also made some little twigs in the same way, using that mold. So I just did a little section, cured it, pulled it out, another section, using a combination of those 2 top trees, so that I got a variety of little shapes of branches Again, all loose and separate for the same reason as the leaves, which will become clear later. And here I'm looking at the sections of the coaster moulds, which are the flat sections. And I'm a bit confused because I thought I'd stored these quite carefully, and yet they've got scuff marks on them, so I'm a little concerned that they're going to affect the finished pieces. And here I briefly show you the alcohol inks that I'm going to use for the cups. I'm sorry that that was so quick, but I will link the set in the description anyway. All of the products I'm using will have come from Amazon, except the trees mould, which was from Temu. For the cups and the flat parts of the coaster moulds, I am using epoxy resin from Craft Resin. That is my go-to brand. I have on occasion used other brands, but I do find that they often give a good deal on their 8-litre kits, so more often than not I'll invest in one of the 8-litre kits from them. I only really use other brands if I can't afford that lump sum up front for one of their 8-litre kits, even if it's on discount. So I will shop around for other brands that have an offer on their smaller kits. This video is part of the Friendship Express collaboration organised by Amy at Resonating Art by Amy M, Sally at All Aboard Resin Creations, Susie at Serendipity Resin Creations, and Tina at Pour Resin with Love. Please check out the playlist and watch the other videos. It will be linked in my description. And if you would like to join, please contact one of those organisers. So I'm now demoulding the first set of the flat pieces and examining them for scuff marks, and I find that as well as some of the scuff marks coming off onto the piece, they also just look really, I don't know the word, dirty or cloudy. So I try cleaning them up with alcohol and they just didn't clean up. So I end up making them again, but I do that off camera. And here you can see that I am demoulding my cups, and well, I am blown away with how perfect they are. There is a little tiny bit of overpour needing trimming off, but nothing major. I won't bore you with too much trimming up footage. I used a combination of my wire cutters and my deburring tool. This is where it starts to get exciting. So I have placed my trees in roughly the position that I want them. And I don't have anything that can be described as mud in my resin kit. So I use some sand and colour it brown. And just testing it there on a piece of paper to see how saturated it is. I do have an issue when using sand with not knowing how much sand to put in. And it might not be a massive problem when you're using UV resin, which I am, but when I've done it in the past with epoxy, then the sand has settled and then clear resin left on as a layer on top of the sand. With UV, because you're curing it straight away, maybe that wouldn't happen, but still I was using the paper to check if it still came out too liquidy or whether it came out lumpy. And I'm also using 2 different shades of brown and black to try and texture the mud a bit more. I don't know if texture is the right word, but just to give a bit of variance in the colour of the mud. Yeah, I'm being extra careful with these now. I'm so proud of them. I don't want to ruin them with anything sticky on my mat or anything, any sharp little shards of resin or anything getting stuck onto them. I'll just explain what I do with all four of these. I won't have you watch them all. So I do a layer of the so-called mud with a bit of all of the colours. Then I put them under the lamp for 2 minutes, under the dual-sided lamp. I am a bit concerned that they might not cure, but they did. It was fine. So put that first one under the lamp for 2 minutes, and obviously whilst that's curing, I move on to the second. So they take turns going under the lamp. I then do a second layer because initially I was going to fill them up to the rim of the cup height, but then I realised that I will block the hole that I need to be able to squirt the liquid in through, so I don't quite go up to that height. So again, yeah, they get 2 minutes under the lamp after each layer of mud for a total of 4 minutes to that point. Then when I finished them all, I gave them all a further 5 minutes. Okay, I've skipped ahead to show you just for a moment me putting on a second layer, because I have thickened up the ratio of sand to resin, so it is making a bit more of a texture. You can see what the one I was working on just then, you can see how textured that is compared to the untouched section of the one above it, the one I'm working on now. You can see how smooth it is on the left hand side there. And I'm not bothered about the line of the mud being straight. I don't want it to look too straight and unnatural, but on that one I was just creeping up a bit too high towards the tree branches. Yeah, so I had to do a bit of clean up there. Okay, I don't know whether you will have figured it out yet, what those leaves and twigs are going to be for. In case you haven't, or even if you have, I'll confirm it now. Those are going to be the shaker pieces. And what I'm doing here with what I believe are fondant moulds is I have attempted to make some bigger twigs. Now, I know from previous experience with my Jurassic project that they don't cure very well in there. And that's fine, because I didn't want them to be the full thickness anyway. So I've pulled out what bits have cured. Then I decided that they're actually too big, so I've just cut them in half to make 2 smaller pieces. So I'm going to do that with all of these, and then I carry on curing the bits of resin that are still left in the twig shape, because first of all it's easier to clean if the resin is cured. But yeah, the whole twigs cured in kind of 3 separate sections, so I'm just picking and choosing what little bits to use. And now I am just going to place a few pieces in each one and decide how many I want. Then I will put the cover piece on without sticking it down, just to check if the pieces are shaking well enough. It's already started to occur to me that pieces might get stuck on top of the trees, as demonstrated here. Also of slight concern is that pieces are going to get stuck between the mud and the flat piece because of the mud grading up towards the rim of the cup. I hope you know what I mean by that. But with regards to that, it's kind of tough luck now. I guess at the end of the day that doesn't really matter because you would have leaves staying put on the ground anyway. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. And as you can see there, I am using UV resin to stick down the tips of the branches in the hope of eliminating the chance of leaves and twigs getting stuck up above the tree or in and amongst the tree branches. Hopefully enable them to fall to the bottom of the coaster as much as possible. I know that it's not realistic to have, well, I suppose it depends on how windy it is. You can have leaves blowing around, but you won't tend to have twigs blowing around in the air. But it's a shaker coaster. It's a piece of art. So it doesn't have to be 100% true to life. And this is only the second project of mine that I can happily put the name art to. The first one was my Jurassic project, which I will link at the end of this video. I think I've found my passion. The problem is I would not be able to put weekly videos up. I'm struggling to do a weekly schedule as it is with what I consider easier projects. And so I can't do this all the time. I would love to be able to do projects like this all the time, and then I could actually happily put the word art back into my channel name. If you are liking this project, please don't forget to press the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. There's a QR code for you to subscribe if you're watching on TV. Thank you to all of my subscribers so far. You are all really appreciated. And here is my Buy Me a Coffee code. All donations, no matter how small, are very gratefully received and used to fund the channel. Thank you so much. Let me know in the comments if you've enjoyed this project and whether you'd like me to do more sceneries like this. Have you got any ideas of sceneries aside from the obvious Christmas scenery? Okay, so I am still a bit unhappy with leaves and twigs getting trapped. So I decide to put a full layer of UV resin to seal in the whole tree against the back of the cup. I think it's been a little while since we've had some music time lapse, so cue the next one. Okay, jumped ahead to where all four have been completed, and I'm testing the shakeriness again. And yeah, it's definitely a lot more successful. And now I also decide to add a little sparkle by putting in some gold leaf and rose gold leaf. I'm chopping it up as tiny as I can. I don't want it to be much bigger. I don't want the particles to be much bigger than particles of glitter would be, because these coloured leaves are staticky, for want of a better word. I'm not sure if there is a better word. That might be the right word. but when the pieces are too big, then they will cling to surfaces, won't they? Now, when I come to putting on the tops, you'll see that I use a dryer sheet, which is a trick to prevent static. However, I didn't think to do that on the cups, on the trees and the mud scenery. So there would be a risk of the leaf clinging too much to the scenery side if I didn't cut them up tiny. There might still be a risk of it clinging, as far as I know. I don't know yet, I've never done this. All of them have some gold and rose gold leaf in them now. And now I'm checking the clear sides. In a moment I'll be giving them a wipe with alcohol and then a wipe over with the dryer sheet to prevent static. And after doing that, I am checking out the shakeriness again. And because I haven't sealed them yet, some leaf has escaped. And I'm just putting that back in. And any second now, we will start sealing the clear parts onto the main cup. I'll put you on a music time lapse again. Again, I won't have you watch it all. We'll just watch one or two. Same as before, I put each one under the dual lamp for 2 minutes, and then when they were all done, I did them all again for 5 minutes. Okay, over to the music. Okay, I've slowed it back down to 1 times speed now. I haven't conscientiously held them under the camera long enough for you to see all around them. I apologise for that. I'm looking at them myself to ensure that they are fully sealed before I fill them with liquid. So yeah, I apologise you can't see very well. So that's why I've slowed it down, is so that you can see as much as it is possible to see. Okay, time to start filling them, and I use baby oil. There are other options, so if you don't like the idea of baby oil, you can look up other options yourself. One being half water, half glycerin. But yeah, I just find baby oil handy to have in my resin kit. Oh, and look at that. That looks absolutely gorgeous. I love it. There are some pieces still getting a bit stuck, but I still love it. At this point, I haven't sealed the hole yet because I haven't decided if I've put enough liquid in or not. So there's a bit of leakage, and then I'm putting it upside down to prevent it leaking while I finish filling the others. Okay, I've skipped a couple and brought you back while I fill the last one. Just to have a final chance to talk to you, to thank you for liking and subscribing and commenting. I'd love to hear your opinions. And as I said before, if you've got any suggestions of sceneries that you would like me to do, please let me know. Okay, next I will fill the hole. I had trouble with this because I was trying to put UV resin into the hole, but I wasn't actually bridging the gap of the hole. So I also tried with B7000. I think I ended up just finishing it with UV. Just keep building on it until I had plugged the gap. And this is a stand that I had made in the past. I've got quite a few of these stands because I've made a few of these sets which have gone wrong, and therefore I've put the cups into the junk pile and these stands into the spares pile. Those two are stuck together, so I can't use them. So the choice was between that dark one and a couple of lighter ones, and I decided that that one I'm holding now goes better with the cup colours. Okay, here are the glamour shots. Thank you again. Have a good week, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye bye.